What's Laura's?
What's Laura?
There's a couple of others. Oh, okay.
Rather be like, as soon as Tom comes out, I've got to run. I don't like using that one right there.
Maybe Trevor's trying to get on,
Oh,
but.
okay. And that's speaking to the either or, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'll go there again. I've already seconded you. I always went there. I really carefully.
He's trying to walk over.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
No. What? No, we are.
She was my high teacher, yes. No, that's.
Is Andre not gonna be here today?
Yes.
Oh, he was gonna be remote because he's, gonna be here late. That's right. I remember that. Tries.
He's trying to get on.
What?
The printer is not working, so it'll use that.
I'm Call the finance committee meeting to order. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bale,
He's trying to log on.
did he message you that he's trying to get?
Yeah. But he said he tried calling you, but he didn't get through.
Figure out my cell and call for myself.
Well, Megan was getting him on, but he must be at work because he wants it at a different email.
I think he's there.
He's out now.
Wrestling state.
I sent an email to his work email.
Well, if he pops on, Rachel, we can note him as president in absence.
Okay. Mr. Copeland,
Here.
Mr. Drexel,
Here.
Mr. Horton. Mr. Showerman. Here. Mr. Scarpella,
Here.
Mr. Winarski.
Here. Before we get started into the agenda items, Mr. Cataldi was here to speak to an item that we passed the last meeting and then subsequently vetoed. It will be on our agenda for an override at the same meeting, or is that a special separate? We haven't talked about that.
You could override it at any meeting.
Okay, just wanted to verify. Please, look.
I appreciate the opportunity to give you a little bit of an update and to provide what I would call our response to the county executive's rationale for his veto. Yeah, I want to just start by saying the courts have no interest in taking on any additional responsibility that would in any way add to a risk to the county, some cyber security threat, or would add any significant infrastructure cost or anything else that's alluded to in some of the communications from the administration. So I want to be clear about that. That's not what we're doing. If there's any additional risk or any additional significant costs for infrastructure in bringing council and the Elections Bureau under our purview of the IT department, we're not interested. We don't want to do that. So some of you on council received an email from the county executive along with the president judge a few days ago that identified the possibility of risks, identified the possibility of additional infrastructure costs that could come from this. I took it upon myself with the court's IT director to meet with the county IT director and the director of administration. And we asked them, again, as we asked the administration months and months ago, what are the potential risks that you're referring to? What are the potential increase in costs with infrastructure that you're referring to? And they couldn't provide any. There's no specificity with any of that. It's general statements. Could be this, if these three things happen, it could end up being a problem. We've gone over this with a fine-tooth comb, and we're confident that there will not be any additional cybersecurity risks nor infrastructure costs by moving county council and the Elections Bureau IT responsibilities under the courts. Again, we met with them, both of those individuals for about 45 minutes a few days ago, and they were clear. I suspect they're listening, so they're hearing me now. They were clear in that it couldn't identify any. That being said, we are ready, willing, and able to take this on. One of the things the county executive alluded to in his rationale was that there's been no feasible plan set forth for the transition. You've been provided the plan. We provided the county IT director the plan recently. You folks have had the plan. We've discussed the plan. It's been updated. We've all been provided it to you in your emails. We're confident that plan's complete. We're confident that this isn't a substantial undertaking. We think the transition should be fairly seamless. So there's a lot of information in here that I just don't understand where it's coming from. If they have information or concerns that they haven't made us aware of, I wish they would. We've met with them. We've gone over this. We're not aware of any issues or concerns. So I can't stress that enough. One of the final points the county executive makes in his rationale is that with respect to the addition of 2 new positions and the reclassifications that are included in this, I want to be clear, we would be coming to you regardless of this transition with those asks. It's the court's position that the county IT department is understaffed and not appropriately classified in the name of equity and fairness with the pay plan and with like appointments to the county IT department. So we would be coming to you regardless of this. We're certainly using this opportunity as a conduit for those asks, but they're not part and parcel with it. And the county executive, indicated that there's a disproportionate number of employees managed. Well, you got to remember that the county IT staff has roughly 28, 29 people. We have 6. The county IT staff has a director, a deputy director, and a couple of managers. If you take the direct reports, they're all somewhere in the neighborhood of 6, 7, or 8 direct reports, and that's what our That's what our IT director has, the same number of direct reports. Our IT director is classified as a 17. Their IT director is classified as a 23, and their deputy director is classified as a 19. It's an equity issue with respect to those things. So I just think there's an honest professional disagreement with respect to the set of circumstances and with respect to the reality of what's going on here. Again, I respect the county executive. I certainly respect the director of administration and director of IT. I'd like to consider everybody friends, but we have professional disagreements on these things. I'll leave you with this. I'm confident that this transition is gonna work and there won't be any issues with it. And if anybody has any concerns that there's gonna be issues, specific issues, we would like to know about. And we've asked, and they haven't been able to provide it.
Are there any comments? from council?
I guess I could just say, Bob, that, and I asked you about this at our last finance meeting, that when I go to things, it is stressed so strongly not to mix anything else with the courts, to keep the courts absolutely separate, and that was my concern 2 weeks ago, but.
Sure, and Councilwoman, we wouldn't be mixing you directly with the courts. Please remember, we currently have the district attorney, the sheriff, and the clerk of records, or the prothonotary clerk of courts, register of wills, and recorder of deeds, all under our IT director. So we can have things separated, so the court's data and operations are maintained in a autonomous, secure way. You're adding to the existing stable of other elected officials that we currently use. We're not breaking any new ground here. Now, I want to be clear about that. We're just adding you to what we've already got.
Do you foresee a cost at all?
I don't foresee any cost, any additional infrastructure that's
Well, go
necessary.
in, drive through us.
So no, Councilwoman, I don't, and again, if there's something out there that we're not aware of, I wish somebody would tell us. We've met with the administration again to stress that, and with the administration's IT director. They understand what we're doing, and I really do think we're in good shape. I don't, again, I can't. We are not interested in doing this if it's gonna cause any additional risk or problems to the county at all. We're not looking for that. We're looking to respond to a request for some assistance and some help. We believe that we can provide you the environment that you're looking for with respect to your IT and the structure that's in place, and we're willing to help if you want our help. That's the bottom line. And this is also from the President Judge. Please be aware, I speak closely with President Judge Walsh all the time on this. He's aware of all of this, and he's directed me to come down and speak to you in the way that I am today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. If there's nothing else for that item, go ahead and move to our normal agenda. First on the list, ordinance number 13, amending ordinance 89. In approval of the ASME labor agreement, first read 311, previously on the personnel agenda. Comments from council? Or solicitor?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Talking about the labor agreement for.
Correct. Yes. Do you want me to say something?
Well, I mean, I guess I will. Because we talked about this in the last finance meeting, asking for supplemental appropriation. I felt Deputy Solicitor gave a very eloquent explanation about how the two sides could come to an agreement, should we just get a supplemental appropriation, but none has been brought to us.
Could you speak up a little?
Sure. And I'm a little frustrated that we couldn't get a supplemental appropriation, because it is still, I believe, the majority of council's position that these positions are not fully funded for this agreement. And I don't know what to do with that.
Mr. Chair, yes, to go further, we have a home rule charter. We have a decision by a judge. And we have the administrative code, all of which tell us that at present, there is no money in the budget to pay for the increases that this agreement is addressing. So the agreement in and of itself, or any kind of addition to the agreement, council could approve. But to the extent that the agreement's talking about funding and monies, a council would be, council cannot approve this because there isn't any money in the budget to fund this agreement. Absent a supplemental appropriation from the administration under the home rule charter, it would be beyond council's authority to approve of this without a certification of funding from the administration.
There's not a ruling from the judge on this year's,
Oh, sure there is. Yes, it is.
no. Didn't we just file that lawsuit?
Well, that's true, but the lawsuit that we just filed is based on, has the same allegations and averments contained in the other lawsuit that we filed.
I understand that, but I'm just clarifying, making sure there isn't a ruling already for this.
Well, yes, well, there is a decision based, it's called collateral estoppel or res judicata in legal terms. But the same exact issues raised in the 23 and 24 budget lawsuit are the same in the 2025 lawsuit. The judge that listens to the 2025 lawsuit and makes a decision will make his decision based upon the decision in the other case.
Right, but we still had to refile.
The point is that there's been a dispute with the administration from the very beginning, from the first day that the administration took office. He has felt that he has the authority to do whatever he wants once he gets the budget back from council. Council has disagreed with that from the beginning. The administration does not have the authority to increase line items. That has been litigated. When a case has been litigated, we follow the law.
I understand that, but when you said there was a judge's ruling, I'm just making sure that there
Oh, I see.
wasn't something back for
Yeah.
the 2025 budget.
No, I would be relying on and representing to council that there has been a decision on the same issue. And when I recommend to council to override this veto, it's based on that same reasoning used by the judge in the first decision.
Paul, is there a response from the administration about the request for the supplemental?
I guess, Tom, do you want to continue, or haven't you spoken to Bill about this?
We have not spoken, but I know what Bill's answer will be. It will be
You haven't spoken to him about this?
about this
Okay.
particular issue.
Then I'm mistaken then. At this point in time, Brock, I'll get back to you on this. I thought that you two had spoken and.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, well, wait.
Well, I
Oh,
mean,
wait, okay, so maybe you
Excuse me.
did speak to him?
Well, not this particular ordinance, not this ordinance.
Okay,
All right, what we talked about is amending. Number one, stipulating to certain averments contained in the complaint that we just recently filed. Okay,
was this one of them?
this particular issue?
Yes.
Let's see, this was,
this is for the, public
Yeah, this
safety
is,
911. It is one of the items.
Yeah, can we, I don't want to put Tom on the spot here.
I don't mind being on the spot. Was this particular issue part of the 2025 budget? Okay, yes. then we did discuss this,
Okay,
but we haven't reached an agreement on the procedure that we intend to take.
okay,
However, regardless, regardless of any agreement or me speaking with Bill, we didn't speak particularly on this, but, there's still no way that county council could approve this and not override it without violating and without contradicting the opinion of the judge that has already been made and council's argument and position from the beginning.
okay. Can I get back to you?
Yeah, did you have something to add, Patrick?
Um,
Perhaps it would be good to have attorneys bureaus here from time to time, that they could put forward a legal position of the administration on these issues. You could, I mean, I've noticed, you know, and like I said, the last meeting we talked, there was a lively conversation.
Yes,
And, you know, like I said, a lot of that results is that you're the one entity that we usually get to talk to about the administration's position on these things.
yeah, so,
So. I'm uncomfortable with it. I wouldn't want to vote it down, because I would certainly not want to prevent us from taking up the question in a later time. But I'd love to hear other council perspectives on it.
You, with all due respect, Mr. Chairman, we have heard other council's opinion on this ad nauseum. We know what his opinion is.
No, I say that because Mr. Lignwalter has not offered what that opinion is, right? That I'm not saying that he's my legal counsel. I want to understand what their legal position is.
Well, we
So
have,
that we can have the conversation.
well, they just defended against it for the last year and a half, 2 years. And they decided to defend against this lawsuit as well. So it's very clear what their position is.
I would rather have that legal argument put forward in a public meeting, in a broadcast, rather than I'll get back to you. And which is what's been happening in these meetings a lot, is there's a lot of get back to, and I haven't gotten, there's been any more information, so if the administration wants to say why that they're not bringing forward a supplemental appropriation, I think they should say it. I mean, and
I
I'm
don't-
just saying, if you're uncomfortable with
I
that.
am very uncomfortable.
Then it would be
Yeah,
nice to have someone with that authorization to put forward that legal argument.
I agree.
Right, not bragging, I'm just saying that.
No, in this, and yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'm not sure whether we should strike it from a second read. Or whether we should table it another time. Depending on your interpretation of the home rule charter, if we would have voted down. We wouldn't be able to take it up again for a certain amount of time.
And it's the money issue,
It's the money issue, yeah.
which is,
well, we
When
believe
it's-
it's in the budget. I mean, the courts can settle that, but I
Wherever-
thought that there was,
wherever
Yeah.
it's settled, it's going back to January 1st.
yeah,
You know, what's curious is I've been getting calls from municipalities telling me that funding that they were promised for EMS or for greenways or for municipal gap funds, that now those checks aren't coming anymore because council and the administration is arguing. So it seems to me that the administration has decided not to spend the money that we've been arguing over, but are now willing to spend this portion of it. That's what I don't understand. It seems like the administration's posture that they're not going to spend the money that we're in court over.
well, this one, there's a contract signed between that union and the administration, where these people will get paid sooner or later, depending on how this all shapes
And
itself
all
out.
of it, I really,
But as far as the other, if Judge Reedman's right, and, you know, the budget goes back to the way the vetoes of the strikes and all that come about, well, then there is no money in GAP, as you were, I mean, you guys all know that, that's how you voted. There'd be no money in GAP to send, and I don't know who called you, so out of, you know, Los Angeles County. somebody supposedly or promised them $100,000, I'm making that up. Or the state of Wyoming, I don't, because I don't wanna use Green Township or Fairview or where, I don't know who you talked to. Or who said they were promised money or what, how much. But if Judge Reedman is upheld and your vetoes and your strikes and the like are correct, then there's really no, if you remember, I think there's $10,000 left in the gap funding, 10,300, whatever that number is, so nobody's getting any money. So again, I wasn't there when somebody told somebody, now somebody told somebody something about something, and then somebody called you. I'm just saying, no, we're not spending that money because right now that is up in the air. But as far as this goes.
Don't get me wrong, I'm glad because.
There's
there
a
would be no revenue
contract
for
in
that.
place that somehow, some way, we need to pay these people. And we're of the opinion that that money is in the budget. So we're not gonna send out a supplemental appropriation. I mean, maybe you guys could, I don't know. Tom?
Please. Mr. Drexel.
No.
Okay, well,
So
Alright.
just remember that when we drop it.
I just recognize Chris.
okay.
In that, with the municipalities, what, like, how does that work? Like, when you tell them not you, when the administration tells them in general, like, I'm sure you've been around a conversation like this, and they come up and you had that list of things you wanted to do, but not actual contracts in place?
Correct.
Okay, so if you don't have like contracts in place, that was sort of part of the reason we didn't want to let that just be a slush fund, right? For this year, there was no contract in place.
Well, no, if you look at that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that list we had in the budget, the last page, it was either ARPA
Yeah,
or
yeah,
gaming of like
yeah.
9.5 million. Those people had projects, this one.
Contracts?
No contracts, but they, meaning the townships, boroughs, city.
So you had projects you had discussed without a
Yes.
contract?
Yeah,
So.
well,
so-
they had asked,
Hey,
they had asked.
is the contract or the non-contract what would hold up you, like, giving them, might just say that they're supposed to get, you're saying that this one's under contract, right, with the wages for the 911. Let's say Harbor Creek, for instance, and their East County EMS was promised $250,000. So it's to give you a more specific place, since you said you don't know who is who. I'll use that one as an example, right? Money for an ambulance, money for them in operating costs to pick up the remaining ALS service that wasn't covered in the county. So because there isn't a contract with them, you're saying that they wouldn't be guaranteed to get that money, like, was it, right? So how does that really work? Is it just a
Yeah.
wish
This is
list?
a labor contract.
Well, I know that's
Right.
different, I understand that, I'm referencing the idea of what you said, with like, you don't know who was what, like,
Right.
that's a specific one that I talked to.
Okay,
And the funny thing about that one to me, or weird thing to me, was they said that the county executive approached them approximately 5 weeks ago to tell them that they were giving this money out. And I know 5 weeks ago, they knew they weren't giving this money out, right? Because you're not spending that money because it's tied up. So how does that, I just, the timeline just doesn't seem to add up in that scenario. It's like, if you promised them money last year, which is what you said, right? You had sort of verbal agreements. Why would you reach out after you knew you couldn't fulfill those agreements because the money was tied up in court? And make a promise to that? And then in return, like, the reason why I was brought into this is the administration stopped communicating with them. And the last time that they spoke with them, they were told by Mr. Davis to call me about this. Well, I got you, so in this scenario, like, it doesn't feel like this is a planned thing from last year. It doesn't feel like this is even in reference to those, because I don't even think we were talking about giving them money towards an ambulance last year. That wasn't part of the conversation. We were still working on EMS authority as a whole, not moving forward with EMS without an authority. So why did that happen? And why are we playing games telling municipalities that we're gonna give them money, not honor those contracts, and then tossing that, trying to toss that back on individuals like us that like, we're representing that. We didn't have part of that agreement. We were never allowed to talk or be part of those agreements. But now you're throwing that back in our lap. Like I just have a problem with how it feels like the administration wants to play games here. And in that conversation that I had with Mr. Davis, he actually said to me, how many lives are you gonna let pass in your district before you get on board? So
Mr. Jackson.
I don't know, I haven't come up with a number yet, but I'll yield to you.
Point well taken. There is an inconsistency of how we're dealing with, the items that are under review. And that's the point that I was trying to make, but just for the sake of time.
Mr. Chair, just
Yes.
let me go back to the labor contract. We have a deal, signed, sealed, delivered. It's just where the money's coming from. That work?
No, you have to approve it.
You have
have
to
to
approve
approve the
it, yeah, the agreement.
But you won't approve it if the money's not, if we don't fund it.
I haven't whipped the vote, but I think it's unanimous that we wanna approve this.
Right.
We want to get them paid.
Yeah.
We're just in an unfortunate position because of the legal dispute. We'd like some of the disputes to go away so that we can just get things done for people.
Got it.
Okay. Moving on to number 2.
Say the beat, Kirby.
Planning fund budget supplemental appropriation, $160,000 for DCUD existing owner occupied housing grant and a creation of an existing owner occupied housing bureau. Please.
Mr. Chairman, Council, we're here with a supplemental budget appropriation for planning. You know, last June, we had a public hearing with you. We applied for a home funding called Existing Owner Occupied Housing. That is a new grant to us. We were awarded the grant in the amount of $400,000. We had applied for $750,000, but the pot is not that large, and basically most of the awards are around the $400,000. So that seemed to be what they were awarding out. This is the first time we've received this funding since 2003, so it's been a very long time since we brought these dollars into Erie County. We have, as you know, we've been working very recently quite a bit in housing rehab. I have our housing rehab program administrator here with me, Abby Height, and you know, she's been really tracking the need for additional dollars to fund housing rehabs countywide. I'd like her to speak with you about the waiting list and the need we see, and then we can answer questions. Go ahead, Abby.
So when we came in June, we had a waiting list of 145 applicants for our whole homes program. Since then, at our current number, it's around 300. So we have the need in Erie to rehabilitate homes for low to moderate income homeowners. We have completed 22 with our whole homes repair program grant last year in 13 different municipalities. We are currently having 38 projects in process in 38 municipalities. So we have the need and we're trying to make sure we have enough money to award those.
And this new funding will be slightly different than what we've done before in housing rehab. These are homes that have a significant amount of code deficiencies, and it'll be focused on bringing the properties up to code for health, particularly around health and safety for the homeowners. They will be able to go up to a cap of $75,000 for property rehab. For most of our whole homes in our Act 137, they keep it under $25,000 per housing rehab. I'm kind of sick, so that's why I'm doing my best. It's my first day back. I have a sinus infection. But so this will be a $75,000 cap for that home to be doing a lot more remediation and help with the code issues in that home. So this will only help about 5 homes in Erie County if we hit the cap. Not knowing where we'll be with that number, that's what we're assuming at this moment. So you'll see we're only appropriating $160,000 in revenue and expenditure in this year, because we know we're already in March here of 2025. We want to put the funds in that we think we can use in this year. We brought all the money in as revenue and have it all coming out and pass through expense. One of this is for admin, this is for projects and project delivery to get at least a couple homes accomplished this year. Questions?
When you talk about in creation of a bureau, that's a subsection in your budget, just the same way as you separate Act 13 and.
Yes.
And CBG.
I have a 90-page budget this year, might be 91, because we're gonna add another bureau. These dollars are, they run similar to our CDBG. We don't receive these dollars up front. We actually complete a project and request the dollars back from the state. So there's no cash up front to us. It'll come in when we do it, be paid for that purpose.
And so then in the next budget year, we'll see this as a separate section with a budgeted revenue, or will you not know what that revenue is?
No, this revenue is capped at 400, so whatever we don't spend this year, we'll either appropriate it all in 25, or, I'm sorry, 26, or depending if we have to move any over to 27. This grant has a end date of 2028, so we definitely have the time, but because we have a lot of the back end stuff, we know the need, we have a lot of applicants. We hope to be able to spend this money by at the latest 2027, so we can apply for additional dollars to keep refilling the pot, because we know there's a great deal of need. Okay, thank you.
Do you anticipate in future years that you could say, please, you anticipate in future years, any portion of this being allowed towards admin, or do you
Oh,
think
yes.
that?
Yes, we do have, it does allow you to use 6% of the grant for admin cost. We just don't, we're not gonna do that in this current year.
Right.
So we'll pull that 6% into the next 2 budget years. And I think, yeah, you had the number, we did
24,000.
24,000 will offset the cost of Abby and our team at planning that's administered in the next 2 years, not this year.
But this line is entirely passed.
Everything in this is in today's supplemental appropriation entirely passed through, yes.
Yeah. All right, so long. All right. Number 3, we'll go forward. Number 3, approval of waiver of bid requirements for under purchasing and sales procedures of the administrative code and approval of sole vendor contract between ESRI and the County of Erie.
Doug is not here today. I'll take care of this. Esri is, sole source vendor for this county, for Erie County, and for, the memo speaks to the, NG 911 software that we use down in, Doug DeSanti's office. And this is a license renewal, and we included all the different, the invoices and who uses it and how they use it. And the state has the contract with Esri, they use it, so this is good for us because everyone piggybacks on the same thing.
This is the same organization that we just approved the health department to use.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do the GIS for Doug DeSanti, and then they also do the health for Aaron over there.
This is software only?
Yeah, licensing agreement for the software, yes.
And this contract resides in what department?
GIS.
It's coming out of an existing line item.
Yeah, there's no need for money, it's just the fact that they're the only one, we couldn't really bid this out because they do this. So, again, like I said, the whole state.
Anyone have anything, man? Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot more to go,
To that,
unfortunately. Anything? So we'll move that up for consideration. Got a couple topics that are not on the agenda. Mr. Talarico had, invited Mr. Pizza to come and. Am I pronouncing that right? Pizza. Pizza. But, for some reason, my brain always wants to say pizza.
Are you hungry?
Tom, I'm trying to be formal, but invited Tom to our meeting to speak to the, issue with ECCM and a draft ordinance that Tom sent out. Did that go out to everyone?
Yes.
Did you guys saw a copy of that? So Tom, I take it that you're. Oh, there you go. I take it in your email that you wanted to move this on to the agenda.
No, not necessarily move it onto the agenda. I too have some reservation. And then I think council should have as well, simply on the legitimacy of the representations made by Charlie Barber on behalf of some state personnel. And I wanted to dig into that a little bit more. Not that I don't trust Charlie Barber, I've known him for 40 years. That's not the case, but just to confirm my idea as communicated to me by Charlie, what the state might be up to that they can't document or put into writing. On the other hand, as far as letting this, as far as removing the corporation from county government, it hasn't been a part of county government since Judy Lynch, since Jim Herr, who was the former director of mental health, mental retardation, moved the MH services to a support corporation, and that would have been back in, that's more than 25 years ago. So really, the only connection that this corporation has had to county council is the county council gets to pick the members of the board. Otherwise, it is acted as a freestanding corporation. I think that what council has to consider is whether it's in the best interest of Erie County consumers, residents, patients, et cetera, that the county divorce itself from the corporation and let the corporation do what it plans on doing, and that is grow. That is grow to become not only to handle Erie County operations, but even further and beyond regional, however you might want to describe regional. If the state is moving in a direction that intends to eliminate SCOs, and there are many, many, many of them, too many, and if they are instead trying to, if not take over the operations of all of the CEOs, at least only contract with a few of them. And if the corporation that we have in Erie County could become part of that competition and expand and be one of the providers, then it benefits Erie County to have the influence and connection with the provider that used to be a corporation of Erie County than it would be some other corporation that we don't know anything about, or some other agency that county council does not have the connection, where you can't make a phone call or contact or connect with the corporation. So I guess in the end, is to simplify things is, I think that Charlie Barber wants to stand alone because that's the only way he can grow. And the only way he could survive, or this company could survive, and the local people, our consumers, get the services that they're used to, is for the corporation to compete at large with other SCOs and beat them out for the state contract.
In our conversation prior, I told the other Thomas, I think I would feel a lot better about this seeing a vote from their board. We've heard from their director, but we have not heard explicitly from their board if they agree to this premise. You know. Yeah. We had a resolution, you know, I would feel a lot better, but. Did anybody have anything for this? Question wise?
Tom DePizza knows more about this obviously than I do. Unless, have I,
Well, I couldn't say any better than you did, and I mean, I've not been personally involved in any of the conversations that Charlie has referred to in prior meetings with you, but as I said before, you know, this is kind of a situation where, you know, you're trying to gauge where the puck is gonna be, right? And it's not necessarily that you have a clear directive from the state as to what they're gonna do, because it's not their political interest necessarily to reveal that, but, you know, you're trying to anticipate it, and I think it's for the very reasons that Mr. Talrico said, you know, we want to keep as much local presence and influence as we possibly can. And, obviously, as has been the case in pretty much everything else, in that world, you know, you're gonna have consolidation. We would like to be around the table, you know, with an organization based in Erie so that we can keep the jobs and the close contact here. And I think Charlie has explained that before, but I'm happy to convey any questions that you might have. I'm certainly happy to ask about what the board, his board discussions have been. I've not been a party to that. But I don't know that there's much I can add.
yeah, no, I think that would be good. And also I think I'd like to meet with him to go over some of the issues that would satisfy my concerns with the legitimacy of his representations and what the state is looking to accomplish.
Be happy to arrange that. Thank you again for your time on all this. I know we've taken a lot of your
Yeah, I apologize for keeping it.
screen time, but that's quite all right.
Yeah, apologize for keeping it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
I would like that to be the end of it, but it's not. Sorry. I was very, very, very briefly briefed on a resolution for approving the IGT transfer. That's due to some circumstances, the transfer that we agreed to in November lapsed before being signed. Am I representing that correctly? And now needs to be re-agreed to be it with new terms. Right?
Oh, the IGT, and is that what came from Pleasant Creek?
Yes.
Yeah, there's just actually a very cosmetic amendment. If you look at the email that I got from.
You guys have this with you, pass this around. This, yeah. It's an amendment to the contract adjusting the performance period, defining the performance period of this agreement as from January 2025 through expiration term. It's just around dates of the contract.
What happened was the executive signed that back in November. And when it went through the state, the council for the State Department of Human Services didn't sign it before January 1st. And one of the stipulations in there was for it to commence upon signing of the agreement. But they wanted to make sure that performance period began January 1st this year. So they just inserted the language that the performance period would be starting January 1st of this year instead of when it was signed. So it was just, like Attorney Talrico said, it's just a cosmetic change there. But there's a bit of a holdup, and they just required an email acknowledging that that was the change and that the county was okay with that. And it doesn't, on their end, it doesn't have to be any sort of formal process. They just wanted an email acknowledgement that we were okay with that change.
It doesn't change any of the substantive provisions of the agreement at all.
Is there any other part of that contract that we need to
No,
deal with?
it was just that one item.
Does anybody take any issue with adding that on sideways for the agenda?
No.
I hate doing that, but
Yeah, you know. You can't put it on the agenda. I mean, that would formalize it to that extent. I don't
Well,
think that,
we have two options, right? We can add it to the agenda, or we could just simply move it in the next finance meeting.
well, no, we could have the chairman email. Provide the gentleman downstate with an email saying it's okay. We agree.
I would rather take a vote. We've done that on quite a few things, like our litigation and everything else. No? Not gonna hurt, let's put it on. And then, we briefly touched on one of the veto overrides for Bob. I'm assuming we will put that on the agenda for both of the vetoes. The other one being the restrictions of using county resources for partisan behaviors. Move both of them for veto override. I've been really happy with how the social media's been running as of late. I'm just giving a compliment.
Stay off it. Watch the golf channel.
That goes two ways. And last, I know Colin had a couple of financial issues that he wanted to talk about.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I had time to review the financials that had come down ending February 28th, 2025. And there's some items that I'm concerned about. The first one I want to touch on is the prison overtime line item. Now, after reviewing those financials, that line item is sitting allocated $475,000 was supposed to be allocated. And expense currently, based on that report, is $364,236.69. Which is 76.66% expense for the entire year. Ending February. The other one I want to touch on is the sheriff overtime. You're seeing a similar trend there. That's based on those financials. It said there was $50,000 allocated in that line item through sheriff overtime. And that is currently spent $36,227.86. Ending again, February 28th, 2025, or 72% of that budget or that line item is expensed. If those trends are to continue to be constant throughout the year, we'll see the prison hit expense in overtime $2,185,420.14, which is exceeding the allocation by $1,710,420.14. Or an overage of 360%. The sheriff, you're seeing a similar trend. It's projected to reach $217,367.16, surpassing the available allocation by $167,367.16, or another overage by 334%. These are major concerns, given that we are only 2 months into the fiscal year. And we've already have spent 76% of those line items supposedly. So I guess my question is, are we going to be seeing a supplemental appropriation to bring those, to make funds available in these overtime line items? Or something has to be done, since we can't spend money that's not in those line items. And clearly we're on a trajectory to do so.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, are we gonna have a supplemental? I'm just curious, Paul.
Where are we at, like in the prison? Tell me about the salary line.
So let me pull that up. Give me a second.
So you didn't have that one ready for me. Okay.
Roughly 17%.
Yeah.
Please
what-
don't tell me you're gonna transfer from other line items into that line.
Yes. The plan was
Do
when
you
the
not remember the
contract.
last meeting? No, don't say, listen to me. Do
Okay,
you never, no, I mean, do you not remember the last meeting where I just said that the prison spent $2 million more than was appropriated?
last year they did. And this year, if you remember,
You're
they
on
had a
track.
contract. They had a contract that was supposed to get more people to work there. And when those more people were going to come and work there, then overtime was gonna go back to the way it was in 19, 20, 21, so that the overtime number would be okay. Well, I guess people are taking those jobs, so they are in a little bit of a trouble.
Last year, when it came up in the midsummer, I asked about it. And how that was gonna get paid for. I followed up in October and I was told that you guys were gonna transfer
Yes,
line items to pay for it. And December, it was finally said, we don't have enough money to transfer. And we never got a request for supplemental, like, I think council's willing. I mean, we need to fund it, right? It's a
Right.
mandated service.
no, Rock, we approved that contract and we all were, we all believed at that point in time that this was gonna be the Pantheon, that we were gonna get full complement of 175 people over there. And the hope is still that that's going to happen.
Is it your belief that the administration has the authority to willfully overspend the line item?
Well, we haven't
Without
overspent it yet. I mean, I'm trying to be a smart ass.
No, but you did last
We haven't-
year.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
On what
Yes, we
authority
did.
did you do that?
The authority that we gotta pay those people.
Doesn't-
No, that's not the best answer you wanna hear.
Well, that
We gotta
doesn't
pay
cut
them.
it. It doesn't, I mean, like, at the federal level, they're talking about having shutdowns. Because Congress doesn't authorize spending and they just shut down. I mean, is that what we need to do? We need to.
No, we
shut
can't
down?
shut the prison down.
I mean, maybe we should.
I don't think we should.
But like, clearly, the authority of council is not in any way taken into.
Well, this wasn't the first time this has ever happened either.
No, I know.
I mean, this,
It's a
this,
problem.
this can go back years and years and years and years and years, so we're monitoring it.
Bring us a supplemental.
We will,
And I would like to have the warden here at the next finance meeting. You can arrange it,
I
please.
can talk to him.
Please.
What about the sheriff?
I already talked to him, he's gonna be coming calling soon. He knows how it works, he can't spend more money than he has.
Aside from those two line items, I have nothing else really to discuss on fiscally at this time, but I think it's just council should be aware where we're currently sitting.
Jim, you want the gavel?
I don't.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
there was the other issue too about the elimination of the which position? Yeah, the public information. And it would appear that they've hired somebody. Well, I mean, if council eliminated the position in the budget, there's no way that the administration could create a position or even the same position and then hire somebody to fill it unless council approves.
I agree with that.
Not sure, so I hate even opening my mouth, but it might be an intern.
That is correct.
He's per diem and he's still salary, being paid under that department position. You don't have a per diem line in the department. I'm assuming that you're paying out of that same position. But you don't have a per diem line,
Right.
which like, that line doesn't exist.
Well, we can agree to disagree.
The other day, Tom, we were talking about whether, in order to get an injunction from the court, that we have to show that they are proceeding to spend that money anyways, would that not qualify?
It's a tricky question. I mean, right now, the judge's decision has not ripened into a law. And it won't until we have a decision from the Commonwealth Court. So the status quo, as we have always known it, remains. However, assuming the Commonwealth Court affirms the lower court, then all of this stuff that the administration's been doing is gonna have to be undone. And I don't know what that's gonna look like. So at the very least, to err on the side of caution. Is what the administration should do. This is an easy one to understand. The council definitely eliminated that job. The administration does not have authority to put it back. Now, the administration thinks that it does. So we're at a stalemate. But to the extent that the administration goes out of its way to continue to ignore, maybe not an order, but to continue to spend money contrary to the implications of that order, assuming it's affirmed on appeal, is something that could ripen into a valid request for injunctive relief.
If the title is changed, say they give them a different title and put them in there, does that change giving them more authority to do that instead of just,
Well, the county council has to,
no matter what, it still should?
they have to authorize the position. The administration creates the positions, but it does need council to approve of the creation of the position.
And if they wanted to create a per diem line, they could always bring it to us.
Stay tuned.
We're talking about it.
I mean, council has to think of its reasoning back at budget time, why it decided to eliminate that position. Must have been some reason for it. That reason no longer exists. You know, I mean,
I don't think that changes the fact that the position doesn't exist. The position's gone, it doesn't matter what the reason is.
No, I mean, it might alter
I'm
our,
thinking of it in the future, if you want to change your mind. I mean,
Oh, it changed our mind?
yeah,
in order, like, put up an appropriation to fund a per diem or something like that. It would be worth considering.
There are other responsibilities for that person for the per diem status. There is not a line for that. And I think that you all took action during the budget to eliminate any lines where there's zero, where there were no people and that sort of thing. So that cleaned it up. But I do understand that as far as like the right to know requests and some of the other work that position was responsible for, and there is a workload that still exists too. So if you sort out some of the reasons that you had in the fall, like our solicitor suggested, if those things don't exist, it might be something worth considering.
Create,
At some point, if they got it down to you,
it would be
in a
worth considering.
proper process.
Sure would. That actually does bring up a good thing. Paul, does the administration feel that they have the authority to create a line item?
No,
There was, in the transfers, in the professional fees for, I think. It's for the bracelets, the ankle monitors. There was a transfer from the professional fees line to a new line. For that specific monitoring software, which I actually thought was interesting because. We talked about that, remember, I was like, should we create a line just for this, or should we leave it in professional fees? And we're like, we'll give them some flexibility and just let them have it in one line. And I noted that all that money was moved into a new line, what was the reasoning there?
I can't answer that right now.
Please, we could wait.
Call personnel meeting to order. First on the agenda, possible appointment of Carl J. Anderson III, Erie County Community College Board of Trustees. Mr. Anderson will replace Reverend Dr. Charles Mock, who resigned, term to expire August 31st, 2026. Was brought forward by myself. Many of you know Carl. He was definitely a strong advocate for the college, and the resume is attached with everything that goes with it. Vote them up or vote them down, as they say. Number two, possible,
Jim?
Yeah.
Why?
why?
Is he not political rival at the moment?
This was before I knew his political rival, and it doesn't, you can't play that game when you're making an appointment for something like this. Politics should not be involved with somebody who you feel is.
I think
more
they, excuse me,
qualified.
Jim. I think there's a moratorium of 5 years. He may have exceeded that already, but they put that in place under the ordinance. Carroll Law Rule. No member of council can serve on community college or work, or family member can work or anything for 5 years. And so you're not working. So the board appointment, I don't know. It falls under that ordinance, or maybe it doesn't, but maybe we should review the ordinance.
We're having a terrible time hearing you on there.
Yeah, I'm in my vehicle. I said there was a provision in there that said, members of council had to wait 5 years before interacting with the college in a number of ways. And extended to family members as well. Maybe I'll look at that ordinance before you go forward with that appointment and get an opinion from the solicitor.
I believe it's 1 year, not 5 years.
I believe you're right.
And if we could check into that.
I think you should check it. I believe, Carol, when we adopted it, it was 5 years. And it could be 1 year, but my recollection of it was 5 years.
We'll check into that, Andre. Anybody else?
I'm sorry for barging in.
Nope, all good. Number two, possible reappointment of Jack Hewitt to the NWPA Job Connect Workforce Development Board. Term to expire June 30th, 2029, brought forward by the county executive. And number three, possible appointment of Sarah Shinsky to the Erie County Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. Ms. Shinsky will replace Paul Okavanich, who resigned. Terms to expire December 31st, 2025. That was brought forward by the county executive. Any other business?
Motion to take my kids home.
Mr. Chair, could we recess briefly on the litigation issue?
Motion to go into executive session. Then call you right now. Okay.
More than one, yeah.
Motion to adjourn. We're
Yeah, but
done.
it was
We're done.
30 seconds ago. They may have left by now.
Anyone else?
Fred is probably looking for.
Nobody's out here.
Okay.
He's looking for that. It's about this. It's about this.
Oh, boy.